Welcome to episode 65 of Comic Book Nation, the official podcast of Comicbook.com. I am your host, Kofi Outlaw, and with me today, my co-host, Matthew Aguilar.
What's up?
And we brought back the wrestling man himself, Connor Casey. And unfortunately today, we are pigeonholing you once again because we brought you back to talk about some wrestling because WWE's Clash of Champions is going down this weekend. And so we're going to give you guys our preview, as we always do, of big WWE events. So Matt and Connor are going to take you through what to expect for that. But we also got a whole show to do. And in today's news flash, we got a lot to both celebrate and talk about. We're going to talk about the new trailer for the Are You Afraid of the Dark Nickelodeon Revival series. We are going to talk about the return of Black Jesus and also the TV show about him that's coming back. We will also be talking about the release date of Netflix's The Witcher, which may have now leaked. And we have the next installment of our grenade. I forgot what the word I was going to say. Segment. Yes, grenade segment that we will be getting into today because I didn't feel like the first one was violent enough, so we were going to keep going with that. And
very quick fan favorite.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, people love Grenade. It's a fun game. And we will once again be digging into the mind-bending X-Men relaunch with Powers of X number 4. So be sure to stay tuned because when we get back, we are getting into a bunch of news in our news flash that you don't want to miss. All right, so starting right at the top, I threw this one. I mean, you know, it's good to host a show sometimes because you can use it for purely selfish gains. And I got a big surprise today that made me happy when I saw that Black Jesus is returning to Adult Swim. And not just returning, but like it's returning real soon. It's coming back on September 20th. This is Aaron McGruder's satirical show that imagines a guy who is essentially says he's Jesus, who exists in modern day Compton, California, and trying to bring like good faith and stuff and tidings to the people of Compton. And of course, it goes hilariously sideways in some really great ways. But it's from Aaron McGruder, the creator of the Boondocks, and this is kind of like he's having a good comeback on Adult Swim.
Yeah, for real.
Boondocks is coming back and is already headed in production. Black Jesus is coming back after being off the air for 4 years, and yeah, this was kind of a cult favorite show, but like really funny, aside from the controversial premise, obviously. But yeah, I mean, just the kind of, and it launched some good careers, like Instagram sensation King Bach got his start really on that show. It's gonna be sad because Charlie Murphy was a big part of that show, and now he's passed away. But Slink Johnson really became famous because of that, and he plays oh my God. He plays Black Jesus, all right? So there you go. I can't say that word.
The word you were looking for was titular.
Titular. Ooh, I should have said it that. Oh, man. Anyway.
And
so,
it got weird.
I do like that Adult Swim just like whenever they make announcements like this, it is like oh, by the way, you're gonna get this in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, and that's
Like
really
that-
good. And that was just like a
that's what I
total
love about it.
surprise. And it was just like, I thought the show was done for good, but yeah, I have fond memories of not just the show, but like what was going on at the times I was watching this show. So I'm really happy about
They
that.
say
So,
why it took so long for it to come. Like, was it just he decided not to do it for a while, or was
I
it?
think they were behind the scenes things that, like they were going to, and then they didn't. Some of it might have been made before and not released.
Oh, okay.
Like there's a whole, I mean, everything kind of got muddled with Magruder somewhere in the mid 2010s with the Boondocks, this show, everything. So like, I guess it's getting straightened out now, or he needs money, or it's just the right climate for it to come back.
Yeah,
so
good.
Either way,
Trailer
I'm
looks
happy.
super funny.
Oh yeah.
The trailer looks
Yeah.
super funny.
The end with him, like, if you watch the trailer, it's great. The ending scene with, like, oh, Jesus, it's your birthday. And he's doing all kinds of crazy dances on a swimming pool, on the top of a swimming pool. And it's just like, yeah, so it's a good thing, even if you're, like, heavily faith-based. This is a really fun show. You should check it out. All right, so moving right along. We're going to talk about the trailer that dropped in the middle of the night, Are You Afraid of the Dark? The Nickelodeon series that we all grew up with. I mean, I assume most of us.
Oh, yeah.
Matt did. Connor, I assume you did.
Oh, yeah. Snake.
Yeah. And we just wanted to kind of touch on this one because we've talked several times about the idea of young adult horror and how this used to be a thing when we grew up and was very common. And we talked about it with Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. But then it kind of went away. And after, our generation, and it became this thing like almost like taboo. New generations of kids weren't supposed to be scared at all.
Yeah.
It violates their safe space and stuff. But we're now having this revival that began a couple years ago with like the Goosebumps movie coming back. Then we got Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which is based on one of the most famous kids horror book series. And now we have Are You Afraid of the Dark coming back. And what I will say is we had teasers up into this trailer's debut, and now we've seen this. And I will say that I'm liking this. I like what I see about it. It kind of captures the feeling of the original very much with the whole ceremony around the fire, and I submit for the Midnight Society, and then the anthology stories, which I love. This one looks like it could be, in some parts, a little bit too scary for kids.
That was my thing. Is I still can't tell even after the full trailer how scary is this really going to be.
Exactly. Like there's shots of zombies and creepy people.
Yeah, that's the shot that really got
But
me.
to me, but like it's almost like did any of you guys see A House with the Clock on Its Walls?
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, like that's a movie that is one of the like scary movies.
I also thought that was a little
but
too
the trailers
scary.
looked a bit like it was going to be a bit much, and so I say if this falls into that vein, I think it has a chance of being really good.
Well, I think it'll be a hit. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, let me just put that out there. I think this is a smart property to bring back. I think it will be a hit. I think it'd be great for people like myself to sit down with their kids on like a Friday night or whatever and check this out and see. And it's a good way to kind of bridge parents who love horror with stuff that they can do with their kids. And I think I think it is going to be a success because I think this is badly needed in the market. I'm just getting ready for the inevitable backlash conversation.
But this is like everything I wanted. Like House and the Clock on the Walls is I loved it, but it was what I wanted Goosebumps to be. It was everything I wanted. Like it was scary. It was actually a little too scary at times.
It's a harder edged Goosebumps, but walks the line
beautifully.
Yeah.
And this looks like it has the same type of vein. It's going to push a little, and you're going to get kids probably freaked out at a couple spots, but it's not enough.
And the originals freaked us out.
Yeah,
like
The freaking clown episode.
Yeah,
I still
clown,
remember
the
that.
Phantom Cab episode. Like there are several ones that are like burned in my brains. I believe there's one about washing behind your ears that freaked me out or something like that. Like yeah, there's Are You Afraid of the Dark was
It's got a good little cast too, including the It actor.
yeah, the guy who plays young Ben.
Ben, yeah, is in this.
I was like young Ben.
I also think it's kind of smart the way they're doing it, where it's like this three kind of part, like 3-episode thing to kind of try out and see how goes, and then maybe they'll do like another set of books adapt another, because this one's Carnival of Doom.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just the first episode, or if that's like the whole first like 3-episode arc. I don't know whether they're gonna do that, like make it a longer story or not. But I think it's really smart to do it in these little chunks.
Yeah.
And make a big event of it, and then like go away. Don't
Get the
try it
buzz
out. And you can
going.
always
Yeah.
switch out the cast too if you need to, because that allows you flexibility. So I think
Yeah,
it's
the
smart.
kid, that it kid is gonna start asking you for some money. Get him out quick. He's gonna be like, yeah, but yeah. So I say all that to say is because we check in with horror regularly. I'm kind of excited for this. I'm excited to see this come back. I'm excited to see Creep Show come back. Like I'm liking how they're kind of integrating horror into
It's
back
the time of year.
Yeah, and it is the time of year. Speaking of which, something that isn't going to fit in this time of year, but probably could. The release date for Netflix's The Witcher has apparently leaked. Netflix, I think Netflix blew their own spot on this one. They were doing like, they did a post about the countdown to certain shows arriving, thinking like, America's this bad at math now. Like, nobody will figure this out. But of course, like, I mean,
Well, it wasn't even the American account.
I know. It was, what was it? The UK?
Netherlands? It was like the
Oh, yeah,
Netherlands.
it's like out in the Netherlands somewhere.
Yeah, and then they
Come on. Get out of those coffee shops. You guys are just blowing the whole spot. But, yeah, they kind of put down a countdown, and people were like, easy math, and they just did the math. And based on this chart, which is unofficial, it seems like we're going to get The Witcher on December 17th, a.k.a. right in time for Christmas. which
Yeah.
I believe that that would be an official date. Because I was trying to think, like, barring any, I don't think Netflix has like a big blockbuster movie loaded up for the holiday season.
But they tend to. If they do, I don't think we'll know about it.
Until
We'll probably
closer.
learn about it either this.
That's
month
when
or-
like they do those Christmas, like they did Christmas Chronicles.
No,
they-
we'll get a
also
Kurt Russell
do-
Christmas.
But
Yes.
we got Burt right.
The
Was
Christmas
Bird
thing.
Box.
Yeah.
And,
But I'm talking about like I'm more like thinking like Bright, like
Oh, yeah.
they're big like the last couple of years they've done blockbuster like movie. They
Mm.
did Bird Box last
Yeah.
year, then they did Bright like the year before. And I don't know if we have anything, but like Jim said, we might not know. But this would be a series or an event that would carry people through the Christmas holiday
Yeah.
of binge watching.
and a bunch of people are going to be home, right? Holiday
Yeah.
season, perfect time to launch a new
This is
show.
like right when everybody's getting home from college and like pulling in. They're like, I'm at my parents' house. What the hell do I have to do? Fire up
Need-
The Witcher. There you
Need
go.
bingeable stuff.
And unlike Bright, this actually looks good.
Oh, stop.
Oh, whoa.
Stop. We're not.
Whoa.
We can't have
True, guys.
unscheduled
That was
grenades.
pre-grenade.
thrown into the show.
That was a
Like,
pre-grenade.
yeah.
That's not a grenade. People don't like
I
that
haven't actually
movie.
seen Bright, so I cannot weigh into this.
You got go
never
on.
saw it.
You need to go.
I never
see
saw
Bright.
it.
I mean, you were like one of the key people I would like to see weigh in on Bright because it was a big fight in this office when that movie came.
I remember because I was not a fight out
I love
part. that was one of the few fights.
I love.
I liked
Bright.
it.
But yeah, The Witcher. So it's coming out, and I'm still on the fence about this one. But I wasn't heavily involved in the property before this, the books or the games. So I'm kind of like, But the first trailer didn't grab me. I think Henry Cavill still kind of looks weird in this role. But I will be there and I will be binging it. So bring on December.
And that's what Netflix cares about.
Yep, I guess that's true. They don't care about my feelings afterwards. So be on the lookout. Witcher coming presumably in December, which means we should be getting more promo materials for this.
New York Comic Con's right around the
Comic
corner.
Con, yeah, and thereafter will be like the big push.
Yeah.
I expect to see Cavill's face on some big ass billboard in New York somewhere.
I was amazed that on the Netflix panel lineup was not a Witcher panel.
Yeah.
That surprised me. I was like, okay, well, I don't know. If you're going to make a splash, I don't know where you do it kind of between now and then as far as like conventions go. But we'll see.
So, moving right along, Stephen King's The Stand miniseries. We talked about this when the big casting was first announced. James Marsden and Amber Heard were cast in the CBS All Access miniseries, which if you aren't excited for that, if you're excited for that, make sure you go out and get CBS All Access so you can access all of this Stand content. So, moving right along, we now have two big castings for The Stand that we got this week. The two rival leaders of these rival societies that are set up in this post-apocalyptic world. One is Mother Abigail, the kind of benevolent woman who sets up a kind of Society in Colorado, and the other is, of course, Randall Flagg, the reoccurring Stephen King villain who sets up this kind of dark and murderous, destructive society of marauders out in Las Vegas. And these are the two societies that kind of go to war in The Stand. So, Stephen King came on The View, of all places, to kind of drop some more casting announcements for The Stand, and he did. And they were just kind of like, peripheral characters or side characters. But he also had one big surprise because he was on The View, not coincidentally, because Whoopi Goldberg is going to be playing Mother Abigail. So Whoopi Goldberg will be Mother Abigail in the Stand miniseries. And that's exciting for longtime fans. But I think, that, of course, the even bigger news came after Stephen King was on The View and dug up, revealed this Whoopi Goldberg thing. Collider went digging to see who would be playing Randall Flagg because he's the big villain of this piece, and nobody had said a word about it. And according to their sources they dug into, Alexander Skarsgård will be playing Randall Flagg in The Stand. And Alexander Skarsgård's a longtime fan favorite. He was in True Blood. He was in Big Little Lies, a bunch of other movies in between, like Tarzan, if you remember that. Remember him and Margot Robbie made a Tarzan movie?
Yeah.
Wow.
This feels like
Those Skarsgårds love their Stephen King.
They do.
Yeah. So Bill Skarsgård
worked out
Jim's
for Bill.
Bill Skarsgård is Pennywise in the It movies, and now
He's also
his
in
brother-
Castle Rock.
Yeah, he's in Castle
Getting
Rock as
on
the
this
weird
money,
guy.
dude.
And Alexander Skarsgård will now be Randall Flagg, and that's a pretty big and that's awesome casting.
Yeah.
Like, I really do like that. If you don't know, Randall Flagg's this demonic figure. He changes and has aliases, and sometimes Stephen King doesn't always refer to him directly, but he's in several books. He's in like Hearts of Atlantis, The Dragon Eyes, The Dark Tower.
He's not the Man in Black, though, or is he the Man in Black?
No, he's not the Man in Black. He's the guy in the Dark Tower that I think in the opening of the book that Roland is chasing down, and he's trying to flee, and he's like a sorcerer or something. But he's a demonic figure that represents evil. Okay, and there you go. And in The Stand, he has weird powers of like prophecy and magic and stuff like that. And I think Skarsgård, who was excellent playing like that vampire character in True Blood, who was, who danced around the line of being a villain or a good guy and things like that. He's really good at kind of balancing that. He had a similar role in Big Little Lies, and so he's good about kind of looking friendly or even like handsome and stuff, but also being very creepy and menacing. So
Perfect.
I'm kind of thinking that's going to be perfect casting, and I'm liking this Stand miniseries more that I hear it. Like I've said, the '90s one was a big deal event when it came on, so I'm kind of liking how this one is shaping up so far. How about you guys?
I mean,
I'm ready for it.
You ready for it? Mm-hmm. The more I hear about this, like not even the casting, just like the more I hear about like the plot, because I was never a giant Stephen King guy, so I come into a lot of these properties kind of new. Like I don't really have much reference material, but this sounds awesome, and I like the casting so far. So I mean, it's not something that I would have paid attention to before it, I will say. And now that I've kind of been won over by that, and they seem to have a good grasp on stuff, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll give a lot of other Stephen King stuff a try.
That's fair. It's going to run into a lot of the roadblocks that all Stephen King adaptations have. Like, even It Chapter 2 had issues with how do we reconcile with the giant turtle god and all of that nonsense. Like, it works in the book, but how well does it translate on screen? So something as massive as The Stand, which in theory could never be just one movie, now you got to deal with that in a miniseries. I'll be interested to see what they do.
Yeah.
All right, so moving right along, here's one that's pretty much this is a pretty fun thing for 90s kids like myself. Disney Plus is coming, and there's plenty to be excited about for that, like, already.
Yeah.
Between the Marvel shows, the Star Wars shows, the movies, the original content that Disney's putting out, like all that stuff we've been over, but it just keeps getting better.
Oh, I don't know. I think I have a hot take here, but I'm going to let you finish introing this
Okay, before Jim's hot take, we're getting 90s Marvel animated series coming to Disney Plus. Spider-Man, X-Men, The Incredible Hulk, and Fantastic Four series. Two of those were really official, Spider-Man and X-Men. Two of those you had to check your local listings and try to track down a lot.
Also, they were terrible.
Yeah, the Fantastic Four series and Hulk
They were
series.
terrible.
They were pretty bad. But like they were so bad in a good way. They were on like UPN in Philadelphia, and they were like partnered with the Phantom 2020 and like other ridiculous cartoons.
Phantom.
Phantom
Those
2020.
animated shows were like the first MCU, though.
Yeah.
Kinda, yeah.
Because you were getting guest spots happening.
Yeah, Spider-Man crossed over.
There was an Iron
like,
Man
yeah.
show too, right?
There was
Oh,
Yeah, it was an Iron
it
Man.
was
I
the most
remember-
extra show ever.
I remember actually liking that at the time. I actually liked the Iron Man
the song for Iron Man is one of the best.
because like all
Go-
the
go
Force
listen
Work
to
stuff
it.
was part of that, right?
Yep, Force
Yeah,
Works is
okay.
part of that. Oh yeah, that's right. Because
Yeah.
Spider-Woman. Yeah.
So, like, yeah. So they're coming back on Disney Plus, and, that got a big woohoo for me because Spider-Man and X-Men and the X-Men animated series alone are just, really fond pieces of my childhood. So I'm going to be excited to live those over again. But Jim is staring at me like,
I have a feeling that everyone's going to watch 4 episodes and then not care anymore.
Of which one? Both?
Any of them.
See, I agree with you on Spider-Man because I don't think Spider-Man ages well at all.
Didn't Spider-Man end on a
X-Men.
cliffhanger?
X-Men has aged even worse.
Then Spider-Man?
Yeah.
No.
I don't know. X-Men didn't try all that 3D
Both of them are still
city
great.
modeling stuff.
Spider-Man's pretty weak when you go back and watch it, but X-Men still has
the only
some
thing weak
great
about it is Peter
episodes.
Parker's
The thing I'm more
hairstyle.
excited for is supposedly, that hasn't been confirmed yet, but Earth's Mightiest Heroes is supposed to be on there. The Avengers show that came after that one, but
Avengers
also
Assemble.
Avengers Assemble, but also a lot of the classic stuff is supposed to be on there.
The
too.
real thing that needs to get on there is Spectacular Spider-Man, because that's the best series.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you were going to say Darkwing Duck, and I was
I don't
very
know.
excited.
I think you guys are
Sorry,
crazy.
Doug,
I think
off.
Spider-Man the animated series was great.
I did too at the time. I loved it.
I was upset. Like that is
Yeah.
all of those were my key entry points into the Marvel universe. It made me total Marvel fan, but like
I'm not hating on those like at the time. I'm just saying if you're going to go back and watch
Venom
it,
arc, come
I
on.
agree.
Still,
Alice Cooper do
X-Men
the
was
song.
on Hulu for a while.
Was it?
Like 2 or so years ago.
Oh, I
and I
didn't
remember
know
like watching some episodes being like, God, I cannot get through these.
I mean, it's different now. Like, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's very 90s and slightly still 80s.
I think you're
but,
letting
like,
some nostalgia talk.
No, I've watched it again. Like, I've actually sat down and taken a look at them again. They're
I will
very
say
funny.
it
The
is-
voice acting is very funny. There's a lot of screaming. There's a lot,
There's a lot of
of
screaming.
very bad voice acting.
I used
but,
to
that's why I
love.
love it.
I used to love I still like the Colossus episode, with the accent. I still like the Nightcrawler, but I thought they handled those really well. I still love that Iceman episode. The rogue parts sometimes are hard for me now.
Yeah, Rogue and Jean Grey are annoying characters. and,
it's like, oh god, that voice is.
Scott. Scott. And that goes half of Jean's whole dialogue. But
I still
like,
love Beast.
I want to watch these for the cheesy nostalgia factor. Like, I want to watch them and be like, oh man,
Or-
this is like what we were so into, man.
At
Like,
the
I
very
love that.
least, seek out the Hobgoblin episodes, because that's Mark Hamill doing that voice. And
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Oh yeah.
Oh
that's right.
man, no! Spider-Man has a lot of great things. The villains, like how over the top all the villains are.
One of my favorite
Peter
Spider-Man
Parker's hairstyle.
episodes
like-
is the Punisher episode. I thought that was actually really well done.
Yeah,
I thought they
there's
did that
a
really well.
lot of good ones, man. I love it. So I will be watching that. Disney Plus, I mean, I got to kill time on Disney Plus all day long anyway, so there will be a slot for those.
Is Darkwing Duck confirmed yet or no?
No, but I can't imagine they don't bring that back. That and Gargoyles.
Yes.
Yep. Keith David's ready.
He's ready.
Hey.
He wants-
Gargoyles has been confirmed though, right? Gargoyles is officially part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I will be watching that. If you guys want to get on these guys about their hot takes, you can hit them up because I'm going to say my love for Spider-Man the animated series and X-Men is rock solid. Those other two, I don't
Honestly,
know about.
the Hulk one is probably the one I'm the most excited for.
What?
I love
What?
that one.
This is just gone from a hot take to a bad take.
No,
Like,
no, the Hulk one I loved so much.
okay.
As long as you didn't say the Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
Fantastic
no,
Four was
nobody
one
likes that.
Bad.
Moving right along. We're back for another installment today of Grenade. Where we toss a grenade in the room and we let it blow up. And today's grenade is a special one because this one is kind of like a specially customized bomb, I would say, for you, Mr. Matthew Aguilar.
Why?
Because today's grenade is all about cardiac.
Is it really?
Yup.
What?
Yes, we have a very special cardiac grenade for you. And it's right there with Mr. Jim Viscardi.
So, friend of the show,
Sad.
Patrick at Z's Comic Lair happened to get the first appearance of Cardiac in. And the only cardiac stand in the world is on this podcast. I don't know if this is in my shot, but I'm going to put it there for people who are watching the video. And so we sent it in for Mr. Matt.
Wow, really?
He's still the worst character in the world.
See? You don't know.
Is it
Grenades
really?
aren't all
Is that
bad.
really for me?
Yeah, that's for you.
Oh my god, I got the first appearance of cardiac.
Yeah, I know. So that's today's grenade. It's not all bad, kids, just so you don't think you start knowing what
Thank
grenades
you,
are all
guys.
about. Today's, this is a surprise grenade for Matt for a nice little possession. The first appearance of Spider-Man character Cardiac, which one person in the world wanted.
To be fair, this so it's Amazing Spider-Man 344, which is also the first appearance of Cletus Cassidy.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a twofer.
Wait, at the end, is that the issue before Carnage?
Yep.
Oh, man.
And
Wow.
so
So it's not the first appearance of Carnage.
not
No,
just the
Cletus
first appearance
Cassidy.
of Cletus.
just Cletus Cassidy.
Then everyone would care about that issue.
That's it.
What
As
was-
opposed to just one person.
Yeah, exactly. So this issue really, like, with Absolute Carnage running wild, everyone's like, oh, I gotta get that first appearance of Cletus Cassidy. And they're like, who's the other guy on the cover? No one cares.
Cardiac.
So there you go. That's today's
So excited.
grenade.
Thank you
Woo!
guys.
Although the call out's
Surprise!
actually awesome.
What does
Is he hero or villain? Introducing Cardiac. But wait, there's more.
That design is sick. Look at the design.
It is not.
It is awesome. The blue and the white, and he's got
Look,
the rod.
look, we set off this grenade. You are happy. That's all I'm going to, it's as much as I'm investing in.
Man,
A discussion of whether, we're not going to do an actual
he
grenade
starts his
discussion.
own lab.
Because
he's
that's not
like doing.
that's a firecracker, not even a grenade. It's Cardiac awesome. Like it's just you fighting the world again, and we
my
don't
next-
want you to go
it's
off
my
on the
next
entire
article.
world. So enjoy that, Matt.
Thank you guys. Thank you, everybody.
Congratulations, Matt has
you, Patrick.
congratulations in order in his life right now
So excited.
because he's got an issue of Cardiac, and you're gonna be a dad to a little girl. So that's a big deal. So there you go, buddy. There's something to mark the milestone of fatherhood. Cardiac.
Better role models than Cardiac.
This is probably fair.
Yes, it's definitely true. All right, so that's a rare bit of nicety that we put into this show. Don't get used to it. But when we get back, we are going to dive deep into the latest installment of Jonathan Hickman's X-Men relaunch, Powers of X #4. And Matt and Connor are going to break down some wrestling for us for WWE's Clash of Champions. So stay tuned for that. All right, so we're back. We are now officially over halfway done with Jonathan Hickman's Dawn of X X-Men relaunch event. I've written an article on Comicbook.com that basically has gathered up the biggest questions we have after 10 questions, the big 10 powers of 10 questions that we have after reading this series. Because Hickman has done a lot of reveals, a lot of remixes, but he's also introduced a lot of things that are still mysteries. And we're coming down the back half of this series. And it's time to see if we can land this plane because we've had a great time reading it, breaking it down, talking about it in the office and on the show. Now, hopefully, we can just bring it home in satisfying fashion. In this one, Powers of X4, it gets weird because it was very unexpected the way this shifts. And this is coming off of the weird kind of helix shift we've done where we got 2 Powers of X issues, then 2 House of X issues, and now we're back to the alternating format each week. And it was kind of interesting to see what happened in those kind of continuing issues. Because Powers of X 2 and 3 really kind of wrapped up the story of the future X-Men of the Man-Mutant Machine Supremacy War timeline, and the reveal that that was all in Moira's 9th life. Then we got 2 issues of House of X in the 10th life, which saw the X-Men go on this mission to battle Mother Mold on the Orcus orbital base, and they completed their mission, but the X-Men team suffered horrific deaths. Cyclops, Jean Grey, Wolverine, Nightcrawler, Angel, Husk, M, all dead. Major characters. And so Professor X made this proclamation at the end, no more, that seemed like a big deal. And then we were waiting with Powers of X to see what that kind of evolved into. But that's not what we got at all.
No.
And if you haven't figured it out, Powers of X really is kind of like, House of X is like the main drive of the story, but Powers of X is like the larger framing of a story. It's all the stuff Hickman couldn't put into one chart, so he had to actually create a second book. But it reframes the story of House of X, and it's kind of like Memento. You learn new scenes that redefine what you're seeing in House of X. So that's what we got, and that was like how it worked, right? We found out that the future thing was Moira's ninth timeline, or ninth lifetime. And so, therefore, the mission against Orcus and House of X became all the more important because we knew all the sacrifice, that literally lifetimes of sacrifice that had gone into it, and the X-Men kind of completing this mission to stop Mother Mold, prevent Nimrod from being created. Now we pull back again, and this issue of House of X, or Powers of X, I keep saying Powers of 10, nobody's corrected me. I've said Powers of X.
You had it right.
Powers of 10.
There you go.
So, there are three main scenes in this Powers of 10 4. One takes place in the years before the X-Men's creation, and that's the big one, right? Like, we see Charles Xavier and Magneto go and meet Mr. Sinister at Bar Sinister.
A very fabulous Mr. Sinister.
Such a great
Bar
sequence.
Sinister, first appearance, Secret Wars #2. So this is a Hickman doing a deep cut on his own.
He did a lot of deep cuts here.
But this was... I want to just see Hickman write more Sinister. More
Oh my
Sinister all the
God!
time.
Yes.
Yeah,
In
Mr.
a
Sinister,
heartbeat.
It was
or
funny.
Mr.
Yeah, it's
Sinister
hilarious.
Deadpool in this one. Really, so they go to meet Mr. Sinister, and the big thing is we find out that they made a secret pact. There's all these secret pacts that apparently have existed before X-Men, according to Moira's plan, where like Xavier and Magneto were always working together. And now we find out they were always working with Sinister, but he was kind of a sleeper agent of sorts.
Didn't we already know about his deal with Sinister? Because the history timeline was like, and then he betrays him, and then it gets
We
back
knew
up.
how his life. We know how his life ends in one life.
Yeah, that was the ninth timeline, I
Yeah,
believe.
and we know he
That's still the
betrayed
ninth
them, and like that was where all the different creations he was making come from. But we didn't know like the context of like what that agreement was, when things went wrong, why he decided like. So yeah, there's a lot of gaps.
Yeah, there's a lot of gaps, and like I said, this is what Hickman does. He gives you one thing, and then like puts a shutter down over two others, like while you're obsessed over the one thing. So we find out that they had a secret pact with Sinister to create this mutant DNA library. That was the first scene in their whole conversation, and it's a great scene because
so good.
this is an island full of Sinister clones, and like they have this weird society that they've made, this kingdom. It's like a royal court almost, except this very demented version of it run by multiple Mr. Sinisters, who like there's a butler, Mr. Sinister, who doesn't give the guy who's talking to Xavier Magneto, he never had a cape. He's all envious of Magneto's cape.
That's so
Execute him.
Yeah, and he's like, why didn't you ever tell me this? And he's like, oh, slipped my mind. And then he's just like, okay, execute this man. And then two other Sinisters, like guards with swords, just come and hack that dude to pieces.
And then a
basically-
Sinister with a cape shows
Yeah, that's
up.
the best part of it too. Like, so then they're like, okay, what we basically want you to do is make this mutant library, but we don't want you to know that you're doing this until Charles Xavier like makes you remember. And the guy's like, nah, I'm not messing with mutant genes. Like, I've been down that road. I hate it. And then he just gets shot in the head. That Sinister gets shot in the head by the Sinister who has, like, the frilly cape that we know. The traditional Sinister who's like, I'm the mutant Sinister. And, like...
I just love his initial reaction, which was, I will.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah, the guy's like, the sheriff's like, nah, man, I'm not doing that. And he gets shot in the head. And the other Sinister's like, I will. And he sits down and he's like, yeah, man, tell me all about this plan. This sounds great. And so, like, yeah. So we get that. But, of course, this is Hickman. And so we get that scene. But it's a major scene, even though it's played kind of silly and comedic. There's a whole Mr. Sinister Bar Sinister gossip letter that's like a Wendy Williams style blind item.
So good.
That is full of, and it's so stupid, but full of major clues nonetheless about big things that are happening that Mr. Sinister knows, secrets of the X-Men universe that we don't know yet, that he knows. And, including, I think, the last references to himself being the mutant Sinister who talked to Xavier Magneto, knows more than he let them know that he knows. And it's just this whole Sinister talking to Sinister newsletter that's
so good.
Really bizarre, but, like, full of secrets. So that was one big scene. And that has a lot of importance because this is basically the framing of why Hickman was able to tell a story with the X-Men horrifically dying. It goes back to House of X #1. The very first scene is Xavier in this garden, this bioorganic garden full of pods, and they open and people that are clones of the X-Men come crawling out. And he's like, to me, my X-Men. It was this really creepy scene, and we were all like, what does this mean?
Yeah.
And now this, like I said, Powers of 10 is the framing device that kind of doesn't tell you things directly, but kind of shows you all the pieces you need to put it together for yourself. And this is clearly kind of a setup for Mr. Sinister having made this mutant library to basically be able to do what he did for the Marauders, is like bring back any mutant, like at any time.
Yeah.
Which is going to be interesting how they implement that, because as I was talking to like Jamie and Rollin and other people around the office, it's like, this is theoretically a way you could use to explain any X-Men dying and being brought back ever. It's also unclear like how this factors into House of X in this timeline, because Xavier's been a creep this whole time, and we don't know why. But like, he's just killing off X-Men and bringing them back again. That's a very drastic change to that character.
I got a lot of satisfaction because I'd been sort of stumping the whole Sinister is behind a lot of this idea since that first issue, and so seeing Sinister, I was like, oh yes. But also, it would not surprise me if the Xavier that we see is a clone Xavier.
Yeah. That's what I think too. Like, I think. I mean, the last blind item is really important because it suggests that he's known about Moira, these lifetimes, all this plan before they came to see him, and he's been playing he's playing them.
Yeah.
He's pretending to be the sheep, but he's really a wolf in that. Yeah, he could be pulling some double cross. There's also the fact that there's an entire location in this Krakoa place called the No Place, which is one of the flowers grows. It's a black flower that grows essentially what's a tumor that's not connected to the rest of Krakoa, but is part of it, and that's probably like a secret lab or lair where all these Sinister experiments are taking place. So we're going to get to see that. So that was one scene. The other important scene was, of course, Cypher on Krakoa and the whole history of how Xavier finally kind of bridged the gap with Krakoa, which was like this place, Cypher makes a great reference joke. It's the place where mutants go to get murdered. The entire team of X-Men was lost on Krakoa. It was the mission where the original ones got captured and the all new X-Men had to come save them. Wolverine, Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler were formed to save them from Krakoa.
Yeah.
And so Xavier made peace with Krakoa, and he takes Cypher there to kind of develop a language of how to... And this is in the past months before House of X started. It's about how they finally kind of made this symbiosis with Krakoa and then were able to create the Krakoa habitat for mutants and make this nation. But it's kind of ominous because... He's like, one thing always leads to 50 other things in a Hickman story. And so in this one, we learn that Krakoa was once part of a half of two living land masses that split apart in the ancient world. And when they did, it was because the demons from the limbo had used the sword to cut them apart and to gain a portal into the earth. The demons overrun. And if you remember, this is all callback to X-Men's Inferno event, which featured Mr. Sinister, Madeline Pryor, the Goblin Queen, the Jean Grey clone, that whole thing. Magic, like a whole bunch of stuff. So,
hey, Kofi.
Yeah, I know. The demons come out. They were repelled by Apocalypse, who was apparently an ancient world hero, which was a big change to that character, and his 4 horsemen who were sealed away on this other half of Krakoa that they pushed through this portal.
And that fits in because they've been teasing.
Yeah, they've been teasing them that they're returning. Sinister's teasing it. So all of that happens.
To see if we can actually see Apocalypse's original 4 horsemen.
Like that's what they keep.
That's what they keep teasing.
Right?
They're all throughout this
that's
story.
What I want
yeah.
Now my question is that something, because that was teased in 1000 too. Is that something that they are teasing for this particular event, or is that something for Dawn of X when those titles roll out?
And that's what I'm going to come around to, is that a lot of this is literally setting up the next era of X-Men, and it's just Hickman remixing all the old and new in one pot.
Yeah.
And then he's going to put it all back out.
Like this Sinister stuff makes me, I cannot wait for the Hickman's core X-Men book, which is essentially all the Summers family. Like this, like after, I was excited for that because one, I'm just a mark for half those people. But now though, when you have all the implications of like what Sinister knew, like all that stuff.
And there's another Summers brother teased.
Yeah, right? So you start throwing all that stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, like I cannot wait for that book now.
Yeah.
Hickman made Cypher cool.
Yeah.
Well,
how do you make Cypher cool?
So like Hickman is doing a lot of connecting the dots with a bunch of characters through a bunch of different books that he himself has written. And I think what we may see here with Apocalypse is probably something that ties to stuff that he did in S.H.I.E.L.D. when Apocalypse was a member, like a kind of a founding member of S.H.I.E.L.D. In that area. And so that's now like one of the homework things that I'm doing for myself is to go back and reread those issues of S.H.I.E.L.D. to see if there's stuff there that may inevitably tie into this. But there's got to be something.
So what you're saying is I should read every Marvel Hickman book.
Yeah.
I mean,
got it.
Every time he releases a new issue. Yes.
Jamie was lamenting. He's like, I got to go read Inferno now. The other day. I was like, that's pretty much what happened.
And so Cypher's in this, yes. So he makes a thing with Krakoa. And I think Cypher, and I'm going to be writing this up, is one of the most important characters in this story. because the story is all about technology versus biology and evolution and how it affects both. And he's kind of the centerpiece of being the meeting of biology and technology.
Especially for what happens next in the issue.
Yeah. And like how he makes contact with Krakoa. And in this little panel that you would miss if, like, I mean, I was reading in cinematic mode, so it's like highlighted, but if you were just looking at the page, you would
read
probably.
it that way too?
Yeah.
Hey.
Because it really does put you up in the art and highlights things you would otherwise skip over with your eyes, which is like Cypher going through Krakoa and touching leaves, which are then being affected by the techno-organic virus, which is such a tiny moment, but so very important to the story. And if you go back through all of these books, and every Cypher scene is something crucial. Like if you go back and look at them. So I think at the end of this, and so the final scene of this book is the future again. The distant 1,000-year future of the librarian with the phalanx, and I think is now Moira's 10th lifetime because they're in that future. There's a mutant DNA library that we thought came from Nimrod in the future war, but now seems like it came from Sinister's mutant library that's been existed for 1,000 years. And so the big reveal in that scene is that they want to do this ascension thing with the phalanx, but they can't just be absorbed because the phalanx don't absorb biomaterial. They only absorb techno material. Mm-hmm. And so they're using this scheme. One of the elders that's there with the librarian converted their consciousness into this orb, which is then absorbed in the phalanx, but the consciousness still retains its identity. So there's something that they're trying to do with taking
because isn't that's Nimrod? That's a creation of. I thought that's what that was.
What?
Nimrod, the actual object was Nimrod.
That's
not
orb is separate
Yeah,
from
it's
the
separate.
little
It's not the
robo.
Nimrod.
separate from.
Nimrod.
Okay.
Yeah, no. That was just an orb they created to basically convert bio-consciousness into techno forms to be absorbed.
Gotcha.
They're trying to find a way around this so that they can be part of the phalanx but also retain their individuality, I guess.
Yeah.
And so we don't know what this is, but I feel like this is all going to culminate in learning some kind of next sort of existence level.
Well, this fits with what Destiny tells Moira earlier when she says you'll get your 11th if you make the right choice.
Yeah.
I feel like when they end this book on, well, now we just have to see if they accept it, right? That they've made all the choices they can. They've tried to do everything exactly right. Now it's up to them to see if they'll accept this. And at that point, I think that's what kickstarts the 11th life.
Yeah.
If they accept it, right? So I mean, it ties in to earlier stuff. Man, this is mind blowing.
Yeah. So
That's crazy.
that's a simple issue that still raises so many questions and boggles the mind. We can't wait to see what's going to happen in House of X 5 next week.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I mean, this has to answer what happened to the X-Men and possibly a major reveal about what's really going on Krakoa, who Xavier is, who these pod people are, what Sinister's up to in the present day 10th timeline, and all of that. Which, like I said, we're at the point now where we're gonna see if Hickman can truly bring this home. All right,
Got
now,
faith.
Got faith. I have faith too, and this is one of the most exciting events in comics I've read in years, and definitely one of the most exciting X-Men story I've read in like half a decade. So I'm enjoying it. All right, that's it for me. But you guys got to take us home by telling us what's going to be hot at WWE's. What?
Clash of Champions.
What was
It was
that?
like a half shimmy, half kind of. Whoa, wait!
Like you were
wait
grinding
for it.
on somebody.
Wait for it.
That was
There
horrific. It was
Right there.
horrific.
Just did a.
My
just did-
goodness. Anyway, what's going on at WWE's Clash of Champions? Connor, Matt, take us through it.
Can we say what Kofi labeled it in his notes?
Go for it.
Would you call it champy thingy?
Champions thingy. Yeah.
WWE Champions thingy is taking place this Sunday in Charlotte, North Carolina on pay-per-view in the WWE Network.
Yeah.
Matt, this is our first pay-per-view venture since SummerSlam.
God, has it been really?
Yeah, it's been about a minute. And TV's kind of sucked, but the card looks great, which has kind of been the story of WWE all year. We usually
It's kind
do.
of hard to screw this one up.
It really is. We've done this pretty much with every show. What's your pick of the show? What's the match of the night?
I gotta say Braun and Seth. I gotta say that's the one I'm probably looking. That's the one I am personally looking forward to the most. I mean, yes, you obviously know Becky Sasha is like right beneath
I'm
it,
surprised
right there.
you're not, because that one has a story behind it.
It does, but here's the thing. I totally wrote off Rollins and Lesnar.
And
then they produced a fantastic match with little to no story. It was just they told the story in the ring and they did it very well. Seth and Strowman, I think, could be one of those, like, they do it again, and this has little to no setup other than the fact, but they'll tell the story in the tag.
So see, here's my issue with that match, and I wrote about this in the preview. My fear is that we're going to get late into the show, and they're going to do the Raw tag title match where Seth and Braun have to defend their titles, and then turn right around and have the match. And my fear of what's going to happen is Braun is going to turn on Seth at some point, hit him with a power slam, and let Bobby or Dolph pin him. Yeah. So they lose the tag titles, and then Michael Cole gets on the mic and goes, "How will Seth overcome the odds?" And then he does.
That was a pretty good impression.
And then we don't. And then we just move the heck on, and Braun turns heel again, and the Big Show comparisons start popping up because this is like the third time in a year and a half, and the heel run did not work last year. It sucked all the momentum that Braun had going right out of him.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. And if they do that, we'll be disappointed.
I really don't want that, but I'm afraid that's the easiest route they can go with this.
True.
If they want to try just a little bit harder and go, you know what? Braun's still a good guy, but he is going to try and beat the living hell out of Seth now. That's fun.
Which I think you can. That's not hard
get away
to
with
do.
It.
Yeah, like you can do that, and they
especially
produce a
when
great match.
We know who's waiting in the wings.
Yeah, I think if they do what that, I mean, do you think they will do the other?
I'm just hoping that they go that route.
If they go the other, then I will be upset. I will be disappointed because
I'm hoping that they go the route of Braun doesn't win, but he's not a jerk.
Yeah, but I don't want them to turn him.
Yes.
Like just because that's easy and that's a little lazy. Yeah. But if they do that, I will be disappointed. I mean, Becky and Sasha, I am looking forward to in a huge way. I don't want to be caught on the thing of like, I just when I was looking at the card, that match immediately stuck out to me. And go, that could be awesome. That could be great. They have the same type of contrasting styles, and they can do like Braun has come so far in the last 2 years, right?
Yeah,
they could do some great stuff together. So that's the one I'm most excited about.
I'm gonna please the Legion of Kofi's here and say I think it's Kofi Randy. I feel like the match at SummerSlam they were holding back because they knew they had the ending of that match sucked.
The whole match sucks.
The ending of the SummerSlam match sucked, and I felt like it was because they were holding back because they go, yeah, we got to do this for at least another month. Ooh. I think this is the payoff. I think this is the one where Kofi finally goes, "No, Randy, you're stupid." Then he beats him.
Okay,
because he keeps calling him stupid.
I don't know. They didn't wow me last time, and it didn't. Now I do like the revival. Like I like what they've done to the storyline parts in between. I just not looking forward to another match between those two.
All right, one other big question I have for you, and Jim, I want your take on this too. In between this Sunday and the next pay-per-view in Hell in a Cell, we have NXT moving to USA. We have SmackDown moving to Fox. They're going to be promoting the hell out of all these shows up through that. By the time we get to Hell in a Cell, who is Universal Champion and who is WWE Champion?
Who's Universal?
I don't know.
Is it still Seth and it's Seth versus Bray?
Seth versus Bray?
Because Wyatt said he's challenging the winner at Hell in a Cell.
In that case, it's probably going to be Braun.
That would be great.
Because Braun is a former Wyatt family member.
And there's a lot to play off that, yeah.
And if they keep him not heel, he can go into that as a babyface, and you have a true matchup. I wasn't going to say that before, but I'm totally going with that because he won me up. Going with that.
That's not a bad
That sounds
idea.
great.
On SmackDown, they'll find some way to put it back on Roman.
I'm afraid of a certain beast popping back up on that first episode of SmackDown and going, "Hey, I want that title, Kofi."
Dude, to put Brock Lesnar back on like primetime network TV, I'm not opposed to it.
He needs to wrestle on a Fox episode, though. It can't just be
I don't
show up, F5, leave.
I don't want any more of those. If he's got to come back for a run, come back for a run.
Yeah.
Like, show up back-to-back weeks one time would be nice. Like, don't just have Paul come out and do a...
I think the question that we kind of are overlooking here is, will Bayley help Sasha, and will Sasha help Bayley?
Oh.
I don't think
resulting in the both of them being champion.
I do think they're both champion, but I don't think it's help as so much it is just Sasha beats Becky.
See, I think they'll help each other in some form or fashion.
Because you can't see your girl losing clean, can you?
No. Oh, he's already been on me today, and he's sour because Becky torched Bailey on social media.
Sour.
You're
She's
a
just
little
being-
sour.
She's just being petty.
They're both gonna. I mean, it's not like one's there
not
one night,
petty,
one's there
great.
the other night. Like, they will be there.
Yeah.
Their whole thing this far has been helping each other out.
Yeah. Sasha even teased the hug connection thing on social media and was
I
like,
really
"Hey,
wanted
like
to see for like when Bailey comes out, like when her huggers sort of go up in the air, to have them just immediately deflate, like as just like a heel move type thing.
Or she just pulls out like a little like pin and just goes.
Yeah, just a knife and just.
you know how
shoots it
you
open.
said where your thing of like, oh, I think they'll do the easy thing with Braun.
Yeah.
They'll do the easy thing here. For me, that's where I come from.
So you
I
think
see
it's-
them finding some way to help each other out. That's just a go-to move, right? Not even just WWE, like NXT, like in their NXT stuff. They did it,
but those are heel moves.
yeah. But I'm saying,
and
like,
I'm
I
good
think
with
the
that.
opportunity is just too rich there to have them both help each other out end the night.
My
as
question is,
champions.
But then the thing that I don't really get is I don't know if you go into SmackDown debuting on Fox with Bailey as your champion.
That's a good point, but then there's also talk of the draft, and Becky's
That's
already
true.
being advertised for SmackDown,
Yeah.
even though she's on Raw. There's a big indication that people are going to get
that
moved.
she'll
Becky's
lose.
going to wind up on SmackDown at some
yeah,
point.
and then I mean, I think
So
if you had told me this 6 months ago, I would have questioned that.
what
But
may
Bailey
happen
having it
then
now is
is now we're going down a real dark spiral. We probably should wrap this up soon. But if Bailey helps Sasha, and then Becky goes to SmackDown, then you immediately have a feud with Becky and Bailey
yeah,
to kick off Fox.
and that's great, right?
That could work.
no, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see
Well,
I wanna see that.
I think this all leads to a 4 horsewomen fatal 4-way at WrestleMania.
I know one thing I don't want to see. I don't want to see Charlotte get the belt again. We've gone like
It's
we've
been a
got
while since
no.
she's had the
It's
belt.
not. It's been
And
never. It's not been too long.
They got to get her to 16 somehow.
They will. She will get the belt again at some point, and she's fantastic. I'm not. That's not any disparaging comments towards Charlotte because she's great.
Have Bailey have it?
Because Bailey has some momentum that she's wanted forever. Why would you take it away from her?
I
right
can
now?
also see Becky winning it night one on SmackDown because she was also the first SmackDown Women's Champion.
That's true.
They could also do
And
that, too.
Who
I
better to
just-
have her win it from than Charlotte?
I agree. I agree that there's ways
This
to
whole
see
thing
it.
is just
I just
tangled.
think to take it off of Bailey so soon because she hasn't had the belt that long. I know it kind of feels like it, but it really hasn't been that long. And she's the first time in so long she has momentum.
Yeah.
Don't take the belt.
That's true. I mean,
That's fair.
Don't take the
What
belt from her.
happens? Is that? Do we have anything else? Is that it?
That is all. It's just I'm expecting a really good show this Sunday.
Awesome.
That's
All right.
Yeah.
Shinsuke
So-
and Miz is going to be the sleeper match.
Enough from you. To wrap this
gonna
up,
be good. So
none of
good.
this matters. We'll be back to see which one of you is right next
Awesome.
week when this is all played out.
None of this matters.
That'll do it for this episode of Comic Book Nation. If you are just getting into the show, we post new episodes every Wednesday and Friday on Comicbook.com, where you can subscribe to an RSS feed and get regular updates about the show, or you can subscribe on iTunes, iHeart, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Google Playlist, or tell any Amazon Alexa device, fire up Comic Book Nation podcast, and it will start playing. You can continue the discussion with us at the hashtag Comic Book Nation, or find me at Kofi Outlaw.
You can find me at Matt ULRCB.
At ConnorCasey_CB.
If you like the show, be sure to go on iTunes, leave us a 5-star review because we read reviews on air semi-regularly. And if we read yours, we send you guys a Comic Book Nation t-shirt like the one I'm sporting here. It's awesome. It's advertising. It works both ways. And today we're going to read a couple because we've gotten all our shirts out, so it's time to get a few more out. And so here are a couple of reviews that we're going to go through really quick.
If yours is read, make sure you email me at editor@comicbook.com.
Yep.
Just putting it
I'm
in.
not going to give out your personal information again. At editor@comicbook.com. That's the one, whatever he said. Hit up Jim. Leave him your real name, your
Yes.
address, and your shirt size. We need those 3 pieces of information. So, first one is You Need to Listen to This One by Jeff L. Hartley. Been listening since the first week, and this podcast has never let me down. You don't have to be a comic book nerd to enjoy this, and it helps to keep me up to date on many different entertainment options. Kofi and Matt and the rotating cast for the third chair are a great team.
Thank you, bud.
The next one is CJ Master by Johnny FNAF. I don't know if that means Johnny Fan AF or what it means, but okay.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh, okay.
Good job.
What? What is that?
It's a game.
Five
It's a
Nights
game.
at Freddy's?
It's the evil
No.
Chuck E. Cheese thing.
Oh, no, I don't know. and learning something
That'd
new.
be right up your alley.
My new favorite day of the week is Wednesday and Friday, thanks to you guys. I cannot wait till I get out of work and listen to your podcast on the way home. It's like I'm talking with my friends about the world of pop, geek, whatever. Everything from comics to movies to TV to wrestling, which I suddenly am into again. Love the different guests and occasional extra episodes. Thank you so much for making my commute easy a couple days a week.
For those watching the video, you guys both of you missed a perfect opportunity to do Too Sweet instead of
I almost did,
We
and I went
can't
fist
do
bump.
that. We lose all
All
our
right,
cool
put a cap on
factors
this
if we
wrestling
do
crap.
that.
Let's go. Don't Let the Name Deceive You by CPain883. This is a must-listen for anyone, especially for any nerd, geek, movie-goer, Disney lover, gamer, TV show connoisseur, WWE fan, and a lot of other things. I love this show. The hosts make you feel like you are a part of the team and you are among friends while discussing a variety of topics. They discuss and review, as well as spoil, beware, a lot from an assortment of different perspectives and isn't limited to a single viewpoint. I express how highly I recommend a must-listen. All right, so thank you for those kind reviews. We really do appreciate you guys showing love on those reviews. And so that's why we send you the T-shirts.
Great
So if you
name,
heard your
C-Pain.
review just read, be sure to hit up Jim at editor@comicbook.com. Real name, shirt size, address. We're going to get it out to you. That'll do it for this episode of Comic Book Nation. Thank you for tuning in with us, and we'll see you guys next episode. Peace.
Deuces.
Later.